Hello, hello. Welcome to Media Queen TV. My name is Aldwyn Altuney, and I have someone very, very special with us today. In fact, I've known this man for so long now. We go way back to when I was 16 years of age in Sydney. I went to one of his Youth Alive events. It's someone I have admired for so many years. I'm now 49, believe it or not, Pat. So that was
Wow.
33 years ago. 33 years ago, I
Gosh.
was inspired by an event that this man did. And I've always thought of Pat Mesiti as someone who is one of the best speakers I have ever seen. And I've seen a lot of speakers in my time. He is a prosperity activist. He's shared the stage with people like Zig Ziglar, absolute legends, Jim Rohn, Dennis Waitley, Dr. John DeMartini, Richard Branson, and he has 13 books of his own, 60 of his students. And mind you, he has dyslexia too, by the way. 13 books of his own. And his programs and books have sold over 4 million copies worldwide. Welcome to the show, Pat.
Oh, but I can't wait to hear myself speak. What an introduction. How good were those Youth Alive rallies? How good were they?
Extraordinary. Yeah, I was completely off the rails in my teenage years. It was just the hope and the inspiration that I needed back then.
You were my target market in those days. I didn't want the good kids. Honestly, what a journey. And now look, all these years, we're still digging wells to help people. You're out there doing what you do, the media queen, and I have my love-hate relationship with the media, but we love you, Aldwyn.
Oh, thank you, Pat. Thank you so much. Well, we know there's a lot of fake news out there. Now, I've worked as a journalist for over 20 years in the media, in TV, radio, and print. I have seen firsthand the media programming that has gone on. I've seen how the media have shamed people when really they just need to look at themselves, don't they? As they say, one finger pointing out, three back.
Culture is shaped by conscience, and these people don't have one. I was listening to Denzel Washington today over a couple of things, and he said, turn it off. He said, there's nothing out there that's telling the truth, and it's the first one to get to the story. Doesn't matter whether it's truthful or not. They just got to get it out there. And I've been the victim of that. I mean, I've had my friends that have been the victims of that. And gosh, all you got to do is look at the spin that's going on now on so many levels that is just hurting people. I mean, they capitalize on catastrophe and they capitalize on fear. Everything is catastrophic. Everything now is catastrophic. And, since 3 years ago, since the pandemic, that's where they got their foot in the door and planted those subconscious seeds to indoctrinate people. But anyway, that's a story maybe for another day, Aldwyn.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And I love how you speak your truth, Pat. It takes courage to go out and speak your truth from the heart. And I know that you are a very strong Christian as well. You're very inspired by faith. And, whatever people's religious beliefs are, I think it's important to have a faith and to have faith, because this is something that the powers that be, these, evil people that are running parts of the world, they want to live in fear, as you say. They want to.
They want people to live in preferences rather than conviction. And everyone out there, that if you're going to be a person of influence, an influencer of any kind, you must have convictions. No one will die for your preferences. Like tonight, I got some friends who are at John and Gail Dwyer coming over for dinner, and I'm about to cook a meal there. And like, what do we want to eat? Do we want, pesto pasta? Do we want, pasta with sardines? Do we want ragu? That's a preference. I mean, but then there's convictions in your life. What do I believe? You mentioned about my faith. That is a strong conviction of mine. When I look at what's happening globally in our world and the elites that want to get in there and basically make sure that you own nothing. I mean, we just right now, before we came on air, got hit with another interest rate hikes. And I know it's not a political program, but all of a sudden, Albanese, who was a media darling, for a while, now all of a sudden his popularity is going like this. Gosh, I wonder why. Cost of living's gone through the roof. People can't pay for petrol. People are lining up at food banks. Interest rates, I think 12th or 13th hit. And he's on a plane on Airbus elbow. He's on a plane everywhere, shaking hands with China that wants to buy us out and everyone else. I mean, honestly, but people believe the spin in the early days of what's going on. And as I said, you've got to be a person of conviction. I would rather have a debate with someone who maybe I don't believe in what they believe, but at least they hold true to their conviction. And on our Facebook rants that we do a couple of times a week, someone told me stop calling them rants and start calling them truth bombs. I make no bones about where I stand. But you know what's interesting, Aldwyn? When I started doing this, which was during the COVID period, I was told in our industry, Pat, you do that, it'll shut your business down. No, and our business went like that. Other people said, oh, Pat, if you do that, you'll lose your Christian audience. Well, it went like that. It's interesting when you stand for something rather than just become grey. Our world is just, instead of being white hot or red hot, they're just beige. I mean, look at you, you're colourful and all that. And, I wear a colourful shirt. Oh, yeah, that's a bit over the top. Hey, you go on and be beige. I don't want to be beige. If you're a author and a coach, you can't afford to be beige. You can't, you can't blend and stand out. You got to stand up, speak up, or shut up. Either one, Well, only one of those is going to make you money, and only one of those is going to help you get out there. And that's conviction-based lifestyle. It has to be conviction-based.
I love that. If you don't stand for something, you fall for anything, as they say. And a lot of people are falling for anything out there, right?
They're falling for anything. I mean, look at it. I mean, they're getting a blinding flash of the obvious. Go out there and get an untried substance, stick it in your body. People said, oh, well, when are they going to experiment with it? You were the experiment.
Yeah, exactly.
And now when we look at the facts and the figures and the numbers and all the various things out there, it's right in front of people's faces, but they don't want to see it. And it's become a culture that was so duped into believing a certain rhetoric. It's almost hypnotic, actually, and we see it so much. I'll leave you with this one because we want to jump on some other stuff. When I was a kid, you would sit down at 6 o'clock, and I'm sure many of the audience, you would remember this. You'd sit down and you watch Brian Henderson give you the 6 o'clock news once a day, a day. And he just told the facts, never put his view on it, never did his spin, none of that stuff. Now we've got 24/7 plus this, plus TikTok, plus Instagram, plus Google, and there's so much garbage out there, and we are bombarded 24/7, which is resulting in high levels of suicide, high levels of anxiety, high levels of anorexia and everything else. And sadly, it's because people are just trying to compete with this onslaught of messages that are hypnotizing their minds, and they can be one thing 1 minute, and then 5 minutes later be almost hypnotized into something else.
Yeah, media channeling or programming, it's all in the language too, right? And it's actually waking up to that. And, it's like the yin yang of life, right? There's always light where there's darkness and darkness where there's light. And while we've had 4 times the suicide rates through COVID, normal stats are about 1 million a year. We've had 4 times through COVID. While we've had that, we've also had other people whose businesses have boomed. Some people have collapsed and some people have boomed. And so it's been a real testing ground. It's been, diamonds are created under pressure. And we've seen who's got the staying power and who's actually, wise enough to actually open their minds to question things.
When COVID hit, I went through streets of the Gold Coast where we had events booked in Brisbane and all over the world, Dubai, and it was a ghost town. And I'm always used to being on stage. It's been my life, Zoom webinars, take them or leave them. I mean, my business partner at the time, Stephen S., is probably the best webinar guy on the planet. And I always say, oh, no, you can't sell a high ticket item on webinars. It doesn't work. Well, guess what? I was forced to do, I don't know whether it was God forcing me or all the stuff that happened out there, to put everything on these kind of platforms. Well, our business took off. And on top of that, many of our students became financially free. Paul from Bedfordshire and Naomi, Sharon, so many of these others, became free financially during that time. Elizabeth Hughes is an amazing lady. She was a sound engineer at an event company in England, lost her job, got involved in an event that we put on online called 30K in 30 Days. Basic premises: we're going to train you for 30 days. We're going to launch your business in 24 hours. If we can't raise $30,000 selling your product, we'll give you the $30,000. So we randomly chose one person out of the 1,200 people. Never did this before, never had a business before. She generated in 1 hour $178,000. By the time we'd finished, we did 3 webinars. She generated 278,000 British pounds from a standing start, Aldwyn. And these are, I don't give bogus details. I'll give you full names of people, and over and over and over again. And now, of course, with AI, it just takes it to another level. I mean, we were talking off air before, I've written books, and, one book, and there it was. But now through AI, I can write a book and bang, it's out in 50 languages. I can do a seminar and bang, it's out in 50 languages. And it's amazing the technology that we've got now, that we can use to our advantage. And rather than live in fear of it, we should learn to embrace the good and take advantage of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And now I grew up in Sydney's Northern Beaches in a small house. My dad used to watch 2 hours of negative mainstream news. Well, it's 99% negative, as we know, mainstream news every night. So I actually ended up very depressed and angry with the world growing up, and actually didn't want to be here for a long time growing up, right? Until I saw the light, right? And sometimes we need to go through these moments of perturbation, sometimes years of perturbation, and sometimes we can be hardest on ourselves through these periods to come out the other end. Now we're in the mass media world. Facebook started in 2004. We now have 4.89 billion people on the planet are active social media users. And with that has come so many alternative media channels too, which I think has been a really great positive thing to come out of this. We've got BitChute, we've got Rumble, we've got Telegram, Signal, so many alternative media channels that are also sharing information that once upon a time we would never have got through the mainstream media. So I think this is also, on a positive side, I think it's actually helping to wake the world up to what is really going on as well. And that's a beautiful thing. So there's always going to be light where there's dark where there's light, and having the learnings with that. And today we're talking about unleashing the prosperous mind, the prosperous mind. So what does that mean exactly for our viewers?
Look, I guess if I said to everyone out there, nobody knows where you want to be more than you do. Financially, relationally, physically, no one knows better. And every one of you sitting out there have got recipes inside of you that can really help people. And quite frankly, there's a millionaire inside of everybody. Everything Richard Branson has, you have. Everything, a Murdoch, just naming a few people, and Elon Musk, you have. But what they've been able to do is release the limitations of their mindset. In Australia, we've got a rise to the middle mentality. We want everyone to rise to the middle. And if you're going to get on top, what are we going to do? We're going to pull you down. And we've got this Aussie battler mentality, this handout mentality that has been ingrained in us as children. I'm the son of an immigrant. I was ingrained in, you work hard. That's what you got to do. And people say to me, how can you work so hard? I go, well, how can you be so lazy? And it's releasing that millionaire inside of you. We have got viruses in our heads: culture, religion, media, and getting rid of those viruses. If it was a matter of just making money, saving money, putting money away, we'd all be rich, skinny, and famous right now, but it's not. And money has a language and a mindset that can only be manifested when that mindset is, it's tapped into. We all have a financial DNA. I was just talking to someone this morning, and they got some financial problems. And I said, tell me how much money you actually owe. They couldn't tell me. Oh, I can tell you right now how much money and who I owe to the dollar. If you can't tell me how much you owe, how are you going to get out of debt? You don't know how much you owe. How much you owe on your mortgage? How much do you owe on the and people say, well, if I just had more money, if I just had more money. No. If you had more money without having the right kind of mindset, your money would shrink to the level of your thinking. Andrew Jack Whitaker won $318 million, the highest single amount in tax lottery history at the time. Blew it in 3 years. How do you blow $318 million? And he said, the money ruined my life. Elvis Presley, Michael Jackson died broke. Global audiences, global reach, superstars. How did that happen? I went and saw Paul McCartney the other night. He's worth $1.5 billion. Mick Jagger from the Rolling Stones. The Rolling Stones were going bankrupt. He took over the finances. Mick Jagger's an accountant. He needed to know how much they owed. They ended up putting him in charge of the money. Not because he's an accountant. Listen to me, because a lot of accountants are broke. It's because he had the right kind of mindset. That's what's shifting. That's what's shifting. This penny in the slot mentality, or hanging on to the life raft, or I'm going to take all my life savings and stick it into one investment. That is so dumb, and it's a broken system coming out of a broken system. So we've got to work on that millionaire mind on the inside, and an accountant's not going to do that. I can assure you. It's learning and being mentored by someone who's been there, done that, and recognizes your symptoms just like a doctor would recognize your ailments.
And you certainly weren't brought up in a privileged household. I've heard you share your childhood story quite a few times. However, probably many people here haven't. So I would love if you could share a bit of your background. What actually got you into the mindset world?
Well, I grew up with two alcoholic parents. At the age of 6, my dad would take me outside bars and say, son, you wait out there, and if you move from there, I'm going to give you a beating when I come back. Well, I never moved. I'd wait outside the pub. I'd whip myself, dirty myself, and get on the bus and rummage around for some coins to pay the bus driver. And everyone would be laughing and snickering. And, my dad would go to work drunk and, one more, and operating machinery, I might add. And one morning got up early in the morning, put his trousers on, and had his money missing out of his pocket. Wrongfully assumed I stole it, which I didn't. Some other member of my family did. So he took me outside, beat me with a rope, hosed me down, got my mother, busted her eyebrows open, just beat her up. My house was a house of complete violence and drunkenness nearly every day. It was unbelievable. But my mum and my dad. I was caned at school just because I was ADD and, I classroom wasn't my friend. And at 15 years of age, I got kicked out of school for violent behavior. But at 17 years of age, I made a decision, which was coming to faith, that changed my life. Now, that changed my life spiritually and my soul, but my mind was still not prosperous. So I began to listen to a lot of personal development material. A man by the name of Mr. Peter J. Daniels. And I began to read and listen to cassettes, and all my friends would laugh at me and everything else and say, it's all that motivational rah-rah, and I'm watching them go down the toilet, faster than a Kleenex being flushed, excuse that illustration. But my life began to prosper because I knew church could teach me some good Bible stuff and good morals, but I wanted to learn how to think, act, talk like a millionaire. I wanted to get that inside of me because I knew if I got this right, everything else would manifest out of that. So I began to read books, Og Mandino, John Maxwell, Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar. Lo and behold, years later, I'm sharing the stage with these legends. I mean, here's a kid brought up with two alcoholic parents in Bankstown. Comes to faith at 16, 17 years of age. And then years later, I'm at an event, 500,000 people, 250,000 people televised into 40 million homes across America. And that all happened because I began to work on my mind. I began to read. I began to think. I began to be, and this is very important. I feel to say this very, very strongly. I don't know why. I began to be very selective of the voices I would allow inside my head. The voice you drink from will be the stream that comes out of you. And so, and some of you out there need to have a little thing inside your head that says access denied, access denied. You don't want to let everything inside your head, every thought, every ideology, every Instagram video, all that kind of stuff. You got to ask yourself, where do I want to be, and who's been there that I can drink from that stream? Now, if you're on 50 grand a year and all of a sudden you want to become a billionaire, I suggest you go back about 20 steps back. All of a sudden you're on 50 grand a year and then you want to 5 houses in the Bahamas and have a Lamborghini. I'm sorry to shatter that fantasy. It's not going to happen. You're on 50,000. Let's get you to 100,000. Let's get you to 150,000. There is this get rich quick stuff never works. I teach my students you get rich through a process, and you get rich through a mentor. We've got an event next week on how to turn your knowledge and how to monetize it. And, it's amazing. I say to people, come and listen, come and learn. I'd rather do it my way. So they go and spend 20, 30 grand on stuff that they know nothing about, rather than sitting at the feet of a mentor or someone like you, Aldwyn, where they can learn and save themselves money. I've got students that go, I want to do my own book. I want to do my own thing. I go, knock yourself out. They go and spend $27,000 with some guy who said that, if you print more books, it's cheaper. Well, what does a printer know about marketing? What does a printer know about leverage? What does he know about niche marketing? What does he know about how to have an inch wide and a mile deep funnels? He has no clue. But of course, he's giving you a great deal. You're buying the books at $3 now. How about you do print on demand? Let's start there, and so it really, people get enamored with this fantasy, and they want to, 50 grand a month, 100 grand a month. Well, you're only making 3 right now. Let's get you to 5. Let's get you to 7. And just this thought, and again, I believe I'm saying this for someone out there. You've got to learn to fall in love with the process. Everybody wants to lose weight, me included. But I've got to fall in love with the process. I love my whiskey and I love my wine. If I want to lose my next 5 kgs, guess what? I may have to deal with that sucker. Because, no matter what I do, I was with a guy at the gym the other day, and I said, this guy is a personal trainer. I said, Ryan, how do I get a 6-pack ab like you? A 6-pack ab. And then I said to him, how many more crunches? He said, you can do as many crunches as you like. It's not going to work. Most of that is in your diet. And of course, being Italian, I don't want to hear that, Aldwyn.
No. When pasta tastes like
but see, it's the things we don't want to hear that are going to get us to the result we want. And if you fall in love with the process, see, everybody wants to fall in love with $500,000, $1 million. No one wants to fall in love with the process. Everybody wants to lose this 5, 10 kg, but then you've got to give up the Krispy Kremes. I've got to get rid of those chopped mint biscuits that I've got sitting in my fridge that I really feel like having one right now. Do you know what I mean? That's the process. And if you fall in love with the process, you're a speaker, you're an author, you're a coach, fall in love with the process. Don't fall in love with the bright, shiny toy. Those bright, shiny toys are breakable. I've had, over the years, and I've been in this industry now for 20 odd years, I've seen so many young hotshots shoot out of the cannon so fast. Year later, where are they? I'm still here. I'm 64. I've been speaking since I was 21 years of age. Have a look behind you. There's books and stuff that I'm constantly learning and trying to embrace and trying to change. And because I understand if I use yesterday's methods in today's world, I'm not going to have it tomorrow. So I've got to fall in love with that process. Yeah.
We never learn less, as they say, and I am, a massive investor in myself, and I've done several of your programs. I've been a platinum member 2 years in a row as well, and I love what you do, and I'm always inspired by you. I've seen you at a few of David Kavanagh's events in Thailand as well over the last few years, and I always learn something. Even though I've heard you speak so many different times, I always learn something from your mentorship. I love your passion on stage. You're amazing on stage. You absolutely shine when you are, publicly speak.
One-on-one, I'm a little bit of people think I'm always out there. I'm actually not. I mean, I'm pretty much a man of few words until you turn the camera on or until I'm in front of an audience, and then the stream comes out. And that's something that I want to encourage people with. You know, you can be successful regardless of your personality. Everyone thinks I'm the life of the party, whatever. Man, I live up here at Hope Island, got a nice house on the water. I take my wife out or for lunch or breakfast nearly every day if we'll do something. And I got my grandkids. I'm not, you know, at 64, I'm not looking to add on any more friends. I'm looking to lace them off. You know, it's like when people come up on all my imaginary friends on Facebook. You know, I said to someone the other day, I said, mate, when I was a kid, I had imaginary friends. Now they're all on social media, and people go, you know, I don't like what you're saying. I'm unfollowing you. Oh my God, I'm so devastated. Please, for every one of you that drops off, I've got 1,000 that want to line up and join. You got to get to a point in life where you kind of go, hey, you know, and be yourself. Now, in saying be yourself, to some people, it's the worst thing you could say. But knowing who you are, you can be successful if you've got a system. Listen to me. You can be successful if you've got a system that will supersede your personality, your gift, or your talent. I work a system. Certain way I do my slides, certain way I do my pitch, certain way I do my close. I have a system. McDonald's has a system. Not the best hamburger, they got a system. You know, go to a burger shop without a system. You know, and if people could learn to fall in love with processes and systems, that will supersede all your personalities, defects, or not defects, but insecurities or abilities and inabilities, because the system is just simply that: A, B, C, and D. And that's what we're teaching next Wednesday, by the way, at how to follow a system and be successful.
And you don't have to be necessarily good at systems yourself, right? Having a great team around you is so important. Ever since I've known you, you've had a great team around you. So what is the
Always
tips?
have a great team. Yeah. And
around that?
pardon me?
Yeah. What are some tips around that, around finding a great team and
you asked $1 million question right there. Number one, understand you can't do a darn thing about your weaknesses. You're never going to make money out of your weaknesses. I can't sing. Even though I go to the Pavarotti School of Exceptional Singers, at best I'll be average. If I want, I'll never make money from singing. So I've got to work out what it is that I do well. Well, number one, I speak. Number two, I'm creative. Number three, I network. That's what I do well. And number four, I lead. That's what I do well. And number five, I create friends and enemies. That's what I do well. Yeah, if you ask me, I mean, you know, you told me, Pat, we're going to do on this platform, StreamYard and whatever. I mean, you saw me up here. What am I doing? I don't know what to do. That's not my strength. Now, I've got people out there that will help me to do that. Now, you might say, well, Pat, I can't afford to do that. Let me just say this. Find a way at your level what you need. For example, I'm not the best, most eloquent person, but or say typing, you know, emails and whatnot. I mean, you've seen me, Aldwyn, I 3 or 4 words and I'm done. But I can speak into a dictaphone.
Yes.
All of my books back here, the 13 bestsellers, I've done all the research, all the work, all myself, right? All myself. I didn't put one bit of pen to paper except for my outline or maybe a few quotes. I dictaphoned everything else and then I gave it to someone to transcribe. What? It's not my gift. It's not my strength. See, everyone out there has a superpower. Come on, you relate to that, everybody? You all have a superpower, a great gift, a divine gift, a natural gift, or a hobby gift. You dig deep into that and then get people around you. I don't know how to do Facebook ads. I've got a guy that does that for me. I don't know how to create videos. Now, I can get here and do Facebook Live and all that, but I can create content. Man, I've got no problem creating content. My team say, "Oh, Pat, we need 61-minute reels." I say, "Turn the camera off," and we're done in about an hour and a half. They go, "How did you not even a breath?" Because I've dug the well deep. Or maybe I might write 60 little short outlines, you know. And so Complement your weaknesses or hire for your weaknesses. Don't go trying to do what you're not. My wife is got an engineering mind. I don't have that mind. My ADD, ADHD, whatever it is I'm supposed to be. But what I know is, if I want to get a job done, I'm going to do it right now. Like me, people say, "Oh, Pat, when do you post your social media stuff?" Whenever I feel it. People go, maybe shouldn't you do a? And again, I don't know what you teach people, but I'm just saying for me, what works is I feel inspired, so I get up and say it and speak. If I had to do 5 o'clock Wednesdays and then 5 o'clock Tuesday, it would. I could, and I probably should, but it's not who I am. It's not who I am. And and people have to be who they are, and then you've got to complement your weaknesses. I'm not good at running sound. I've got to get someone to do sound. If you try and chase two rabbits, you get none. Find out what your superpower is, and then find out what your weakness is. Even Superman had kryptonite to deal with.
Yes, so true. Yeah, I love that. And the more you step up in life, what I've discovered is that you're going to have more people that love you and more people that hate you, right? You're going to, as you said, you've got more friends and more enemies, right? So how do you deal with the haters?
I torture them. I become more successful. Do you know the body has a way of telling you, your body has a way to tell you when your stomach is empty. The brain doesn't have that. I get haters all the time. I've had death threats. I mean, from my stand on various things. I mean, I've had to put security in my home and everything else. I just kind of go, I just got to become more successful. And I sometimes I get the better of myself, and some of these haters and whatever on social media, I respond, and and people go, "Oh, Pat, you're supposed to be a Christian." Yeah, but I'm not an idiot. I'm not going to let you. Oh, didn't the Bible say if someone slaps you on the cheek, turn the other one? Sure. Okay, so you hit me twice. Doesn't tell me what to do after that. So sometimes I challenge, but if you try and argue with a fool, you become a fool. And listen to me, everyone out there, listen to me. You'll never meet a hater doing better than you.
Yeah.
Number 2, your friends don't need an explanation, and your enemies aren't going to believe you anyway. So stop it. Why would you spend your time arguing with people who are hell-bent on your demise or proving you wrong? That's not your audience. That is not my audience. My audience is a conservative audience. Okay. And I want to be very careful what I'm saying. This is your platform. So if you're some lefty out there, I'm not for you. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay. There was a time when I wanted everybody to like me. Muhammad Ali said this: there'd be guys sitting out there yelling and screaming because they wanted to see him get knocked out. And they'd use all kinds of profanity and, you nigger and da-da-da-da-da. He goes, but that guy sitting out there, out of my marketing, he paid $1,000 sitting in a front row seat to see me get knocked out. And I'm happy to take his money. And that's how you've got to view it. There are some people, no matter what you say or what you do, they will never agree with you. Like I've got my ideologies and some of the stuff that's going on right now. You wouldn't believe the hatred and vitriol that's coming out of people. And even when you appeal to them with common sense and logic and history, they're hell-bent on stuff. Let me say why. I believe in demonic strongholds. There are people that have got dark forces, and it's a stronghold. This gets back to being that millionaire. It's an ideology, a concept. Have you ever noticed? Have you ever noticed in a family, they get together, say Christmas, and you're not a gossip. You hate gossip. All of a sudden, you get around that family, and they're all gossiping, and all of a sudden, you get drawn into that. It's what I call a stronghold or a familiar spirit, and it attracts people and it brings that out. And people are like that on social media. And people are like that in marketing. Don't bother trying to deal with that. They're not your market. What I would suggest you do is feed that which draws from you. You're not going to win everybody over. Quite frankly, there's some people I don't want in my business. I want people that can follow instruction. I want people that are highly motivated. I want people that are positive. I want people that are full of conviction. I want people that don't know everything. Do you know? Some people, no matter what you do, will never be convinced. Look, I've got relatives in my family that have never read one of my books. Never. The one person that has, my nephew, is making a fortune out there in Sydney working on, with major companies. They're always bidding to getting him to come and be their state rep and their top salesman and everything else for the company. Why? Because he's learning. And so don't waste your time on the haters. Look, they don't deserve your energy. They don't deserve your emotion. And they don't deserve your goodness, because you want them to do well. They don't want it. They just want to argue.
Yeah. And, when I heard the term hurt people, that was an absolute aha moment for me, because, I always wanted to be liked. I never felt I belonged growing up. I was bullied as a kid, first generation Australian, Greek, Turkish, Ukrainian background. Can you imagine all three countries at war coming together in one package?
Right there. Got a war zone right there.
War zone right there. And I always wanted to be liked, and I was such a people pleaser for so long. And then when I got hurt people, I just now send them love. It doesn't mean you have to hang out with those people. And sometimes those people are family, right?
Hurt people, but bitter people are bitter as well. And they can say, it's all about hurt. Not all, yes and no. There are some people that are just plain evil. And people say, oh, Pat, you get involved in a lot of political causes. Actually, I don't. I get involved in what's right and what's wrong. I've got no interest in politics. People should be saying, oh, you should be running for this and running for that. I have no interest. It's not my superpower. When everything blew up in this country, I called Scott Morrison out, and I know him. I had no problem. All of a sudden, things just started going like that. I had no intention to enter that arena. But they started a fight, and I thought, well, I always teach my grandsons and my granddaughters, we don't start fights, but we do finish them. and then you've got to understand too, and not violence I'm talking about. You've got to understand that there is not always a spoil in every battle. There's not always a spoil in every battle. Because we want to be liked. I want to be loved. I want to be accepted by everybody. Other people don't. They want to be disliked. They want to be hated. They want to be seen as the victim. And honestly, you can't help people. Let me help all of your clients out there. Let me tell you the 5 people you can never help, okay? 5. Sure. Number 1. Here it is. Number 1. You can't help the person that doesn't think they have a problem. Number 2. Yes. You can't help the person that thinks that you're their problem. Right?
Yeah.
Right? Number 3, you can't help the person that wants you to just emotionally engage, but they don't want to emotionally disconnect from their problem. Number 4, you can't help the person that wants you to invest money, time, and energy into their problem, but they don't want to. And number 5, you can't help the person that won't listen. You can't help those people. When I was the director of my drug rehabilitation center, well, my problem is my parents. No, the problem is you're a druggie. Number 2, no, the problem's you. You're the problem. You're this capitalist pig. So I'm the problem. Number 3, you don't feel sorry for me. I'm out there. Hang on. You're not owning this. Are you with me? And so, and what happens is, Aldwyn, is people become addicted in their minds to a certain belief system. And you're telling them you can prosper, you can increase. Well, why don't you just help me? Yeah, but I am helping you. No. Why don't you just, if you're so rich, why don't you just give all your money away? Because then I'll be like you.
Mm.
Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Like we help a lot of charities. We've given over nearly $2 million to charity in the last 10, 12 years. But I don't give the charities, oh, please give, we're all going broke. Well, I'm not giving to that. Not unless you show me your financial statements, show me the accuracy of which you've conducted your financial dealings with, show me your profit and loss statements. There's a reason why you're going broke. And it's not because you don't have a good work to do. It's because you're not following systems, pattern, procedures to help you, you know. And it's the same with our own lives, Aldwyn, when it comes to money and prosperity. We need to look here. Don't look at what the government's doing. Don't look at what this is doing. And stop blaming COVID and blaming this and World Economic Forum and everything else. To every crisis, there is opportunity. To every down, there's an up. To every loss, there is a learning. There's a win. And like you said in the beginning, you know, to every challenge, there's an opportunity. Right now is an incredible opportunity for people to start global businesses. They could do it. Just get on board. Get to a seminar. Get to a webinar. Get to whatever Aldwyn's promoting. Do what she tells you and you'll prosper. It's when you rely on your own mind, you won't. My material back here is a history of my progression. My first book was Wake Up and Dream. It took me 18 months, nearly 2 years to write that book. I can now help students write a book in 18 days. Because I've grown and I've learned and I know what works and what doesn't work. and so it's those learnings that really help us, Aldwyn. And once you start, getting back to what we said before, once you start getting involved in arguments and people that don't want help, you're wasting your superpower. You really are.
Yeah, and you know, you mentioned ADHD before. Now, I was diagnosed ADHD too, and in fact, a lot of entrepreneurs have ADHD apparently, and I look at it as a superpower. I look at it as, you know, it doesn't mean you can't focus. It's just you have trouble focusing on things that don't interest you. That's what they say about people with ADHD, apparently, right? And so it's really, yeah, just noticing what are your superpowers and how can you focus more on that and outsource the rest, build teams, take responsibility, etc. Now, you've seen a lot of businesses come and go in your time, Pat. What are some of the biggest mistakes people have made in business?
Listening to the wrong people. But I'll tell you what's worse than listening to the wrong people. I'll tell you what's far worse. You ready for it, Aldwyn? You ready for it? Not listening to the right people. People listen to the wrong people. Second mistake, they try and do it all on their own. They get to a webinar or a seminar and they learn just enough amount from the webinar to go and mess up the rest of their life. Instead of spending the 997 or the 2,997, they take what you or someone else teaches. Oh, I'll do it on my own. I know. And they get out there and they fall flat on their faces. I'll give you an illustration. One of my clients decided to write a book. I said, please don't go out and do this yet. No, we've got a quote from the printer. Now, I had that weekend speaking for me, Michael Rakusin, the guy that launched Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the 4 ingredients, and he was my speaker to help students how to write bestsellers. And these ladies went and printed 25,000 copies of their book, which I told them not to do. But they got, 5,000 copies. And it cost them 25 grand. I said, please don't do that. Come and listen to Michael. Come and listen. He knows something about books. So Michael asked this question, and I'm going to pose it to your audience as well. What's the most important part of a book? And of course, people are going, oh, the title, oh, the forward, oh, the back cover, oh, the cover. And Michael had this going on back and forth for a long time, and people were answering all these questions. And Michael Rakusin said, no, the most important part of a book is your spine. Because when your book is sitting on a shelf, it's sitting like this. And if they can't read your spine, they're not going to get your book. These ladies went and printed a book in the smallest, finest print, and their spine was about that wide. They had no chance. I heard the sigh. Now, what's listening to the wrong people, but then not listening to the right people. Third thing mistake I've seen people make. They don't engage with a mentor. Wealth happens at the speed of mentorship. I'm going to fire some things at you right now. A mentor gives you wisdom without waiting. A mentor gives you knowledge with less pain. A mentor is learning through the loss of another. A mentor is the golden key of wisdom, relationships, and profitability. A mentor should give you access to three things in this order. Number one, principles by which you can live your life. Number two, people that you can connect with. Number three, profitability. That's the last one. See, we straight away want to go here. A young man was walking, he's a young lawyer, and decided to take out to lunch the biggest criminal lawyer in the city of Sydney. And they went to lunch, and this old guy was the top dog in criminal law. And he ended up taking him out for lunch, and they spent like about $300 or $400 on lunch. And he calls me up after. He goes, you know, Pat, that old mongrel didn't give me one lead, didn't give me not one marketing thing, not one, nothing. I said, was the restaurant full? He said, yeah. I said, what was it full of? He said, well, he took me to a restaurant where it's full of lawyers and their clients. I said, you watch your phone ring in about a week. I was right. I was right. The biggest mistake sometimes people make is not getting access to greatness. I have an event coming up this weekend. It's one of our first in-house events. And we've got about 300 or 400 people that actually qualify to be at this event. Only 50 people are showing up. Now, I'm bringing in great presenters. And I say to my students, access the great. Fools are available at any time. Not accessing greatness when it's there is really, really dumb. Because most people that are great want to share what they've learned. And some of them, they don't want to get paid. Oh, no, all the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. There's a reason for that. You're not looking at the reason. You're just throwing out a statement. Like I say to people, if you could have what I have or know what I know, what would you do? Now, the broke mind goes straight, I want to have what you have. Yeah, but you'd lose it in 2 years. Or know what I know. Or know who I know. That is the common mistake that a lot of people make. They don't listen to the right voices. They listen to wrong voices. They don't listen to the right voices. They want to get rich quick. They don't engage in a mentor, and they don't fall in love with the process. They're probably the biggest mistakes that I've seen.
And I think I've made one or two of those mistakes myself, actually, Pat, over the years.
But look, you're into publicity and media. I'll tell you one thing. One of the things I don't do, I don't believe my own publicity, and I certainly don't believe anyone else's. I don't. You know, Pat Mesiti is a self-made multi-millionaire. Well, there's the first lie. I'm not a self-made multi-millionaire. I'm a millionaire because of the voices I chose to believe and the men and women that mentored me. It's a lie. You know, I've been waiting for 5 years to change that video because it just annoys me when I hear it. You know, you better have to say something like Pat Mesiti is a mentor-dependent millionaire. Wouldn't that get people's attention? You know, self-made multi-millionaire. Well, mentor-dependent millionaire. What? What was that? You know, and those are so vital, important things. Like, you know, I've been to, you know, I've met so many of the world's #1 wealth coach. I've met, you know, I mean, by the way, who gives this award out? You know, world's #1 internet coach, world's #1. But firstly, who gave that award out? and who was on the committee. I didn't get like I watched the Grammy Awards, and people those Grammys are paid for. Most New York Times bestsellers, that's paid for stuff, folks. How do you get a New York Times bestseller? Got released yesterday, and it's a New York Times bestseller today. People don't go to the store that fast. When you've been around a while, and I'm not being negative, I'm all for that. But just be real. Like, I had a friend of mine market himself as the #1 Christian success coach, right? So I introduced him to speak, and I said, so-and-so is the world's number one Christian success coach. Me, I'm the universe's #1 multi-faith success coach. Who gives this award?
Yes, a lot of self-anointing going on there, I think.
Self-anointing. Not even, King David didn't do that. Even King Elite Charles over there, he didn't anoint himself king. We'll leave that one alone. Let's leave that one alone, Norwood.
Yeah, so true. And then it's knowing, as you say, the right voices, the right mentors to listen to. Now, I'm someone who's had multiple mentors through my life, and everyone has their own system and their own, success process, right? So how do you know who the best mentors are to follow?
It depends on what you want. If I want marketing, I've got to go to that mentor. If I need help in my relationships, okay, my best relationship mentor was my spiritual mother. I remember one day going, "Oh, Mum, I just want to kill myself." She'd go, "Yeah, you'd rather die than change, son. That's your problem." Now, I'm not going to go to her for marketing. She has no clue. I'm going to find out social media. Who do I find out? Firstly, I look for testimonials. I ask questions like, well, who have you worked for? Who have you worked for? I ask deep questions. Like anyone on my team, I generally ask, what's your relationship like with your parents? If they've got a bitter relationship with their parents, I don't hire them because I'm next. I'm next. Because if they're moving in discord and I understand abuse, I get all that, but I also get healing and I get all that. You got to ask yourself, where do you want to go? If you want to learn about wealth, go to someone who's a wealth strategist. I've created more first-generation millionaires in this country. I didn't say that. Glenn Twiddle said that. In a certain particular industry. Bob Proctor, when Bob spoke for me, said if I lived in Australia, I'd be camping out this guy's front yard. I'd hang on to everything he would say. I'd be buying everything he's got. I didn't say that. Bob said it. Bob said it. And I didn't pay him to say it, by the way. He just said it because we toured and seen the results. What do you want? You need marketing? Get a marketing agent. You need PR? Well, hello. You need media? Well, hello. And sometimes, and I don't mean any disrespect to any of the American audience here, Australians are enamored with an American accent. They think because something's got an American accent, it's got more value. Well, you have a look at the personal development industry in America and the wealth creation industry in America and see where it is today. They self-sabotaged. Have a look, some of the biggest selling books. I was going to mention one, but I pulled back just in case. All of these authors that contributed, they're all fought like cats and dogs. Only one person made money out of that whole thing. And so you got to ask yourself, where do I want to go? You want to be trained to be a millionaire? Come join us. Do you want to know how to have bestseller? How to be? I've been speaking now since I was 18 years old. I think I know something about speaking, coaching, writing bestsellers, creating books, products, and services. I'm 64. I have no intention of retiring. I'm ready to refire. I now am embracing all this new technology, which I know nothing about. So I've got an expert who's joining me next week. Teach us how to do it, how to take what I do, supercharge it, put it on steroids, I don't know anything about bots. I mean, good Lord. The only bot I know is from, Lost in Space. Danger, Will Robinson. Warning, warning. That's about as far as my bots go.
Oh, I love it, Pat. And of course, now the world of AI is taking over. We've got some things you're doing around that, haven't you? So
We
how
are.
can
Next Wednesday, if you go to mesiti.com/AI, Mesiti, MESITI.com/AI, we have a magnificent AI webinar where we can show you how to use AI to your advantage with your voice, your content, your vibe, your superpower, and really build a global business. And I'm constantly looking for ways to expand and multiply and streamline. We all hear it. We've all heard it said, work smarter, not harder. I like to do both, smarter and harder. I call it double dipping. And of course, it's online. If anyone would like to join us, it'll be an absolute, just come and learn. Just come and learn. And come and learn and listen. So, it's always good to see a smiling face. I always feel very relaxed when I'm talking to you.
Oh, that's nice, Pat. Thank you. I'll take
Yeah,
that as a big compliment. Thank you very much.
it's very different to my truth bomb sessions that I do on my Facebook and everything else. And if people want to follow us on social media, can mesiti.com/links. Sometimes our stuff gets taken off because the powers that be don't like what we say, but that's okay.
That's okay. Absolutely. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you today, Pat. Thank you so much for your time. And I've got so many more questions I could ask you. So maybe we'll do another interview.
Let's do it again, Aldwyn. Let's do it again.
Would be amazing. So check that out, mesiti.com/AI. And for those who want to connect with me, all my links are at linktree/Aldwyn, linktr.ee/Aldwyn. I'm doing a Step Up, Speak Up challenge this week. We've got the Global Good News Challenge happening every single month, sharing gratitude and good news. We have a Present with Power event coming up. We have the Animal Action Day for Aussie Wildlife coming up, 17th annual event we're doing for animals. So much on the horizon. Check out all the links there. Any final words, Pat, before we wrap up today?
Yes, follow Aldwyn. Hang on to her coattails. Get on everything she's got. And listen, just remember, amateurs copy, professionals steal everything you can from her.
I love it, Pat. And follow Pat. He's awesome. And he's such an inspiration, Pat. And you've been certainly such a massive inspiration in my life. And I want to thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything you've done, and look forward to connecting again in future soon. Sending you all lots of love. Remember, as Gandhi says, be the change you wish to see in the world. Be the change you wish to see in the world. Do you have a favorite quote or motto you live by, Pat, before we wrap up?
Yes. What I do daily will determine what I am permanently. What I do daily will determine what I am permanently.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much. Mr. Pat Mesiti in the house. Make sure to follow all his stuff. Check out mesiti.com/links for all of his links, as well as mesiti.com/AI. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a beautiful day or night wherever you are in the world. See you again soon.